Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this broadcast. My name by birth is Alex William Smith, but I'm better known in the hypnosis world as Jonathan Royal, the British bad boy of hypnosis. And I'd like to welcome you to this edition of Hypnosis Week, where I'm extremely lucky to be joined by, and they're probably going to kill me because my pronunciation of people's names always gets me into trouble. But the way I'm going to say it probably incorrectly is Violeta and Jutka. They will correct me in a moment, I'm sure, but much easier for me to say. They are known under their brand around the world as the English Sisters. So welcome to the show, girls.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. Lovely to be here.
Can you first of all correct me? How am I supposed to pronounce your names?
You were supposed to pronounce it exactly as you did.
Oh, you're joking. I got it right for a change. That is a first. Well, there we go. So I obviously know stuff about your background. I've read some of your books myself. My daughter's read some that you very kindly sent her after we'd met in Birmingham at Steve Miller's, the Royal event that you set up where I was presenting, where I first met you. The first question I'm going to ask you, Louise, I'll just leave it open there for people who may not have encountered your brand before, which I find odd if they're in the hypnotherapy business. The way social media is these days, I find it highly unlikely they wouldn't have seen something with the English Sisters on. But can you explain how you've ended up being where you are now, called the English Sisters? Because that in itself is a bit unusual. Most people trade on their own, but you work together.
That's right. Wow. I mean, it's kind of it's a bit of a long story, but really we can say that the truth is we're real sisters.
Excellent.
There's between us. So living here in Italy, the reason why we decided to call ourselves the English Sisters is because everybody that we would meet along the road, they would always say, "Hey, sisters," and then they would always put the English in the front. English. And then in the end, so we thought, they started calling us English Sisters. So we thought, that's so cute. I mean, we are English. We do live here in Italy.
We're proud to be British.
Yeah, and so we just thought it was cute, and then we just stuck with it. We thought it's a cute nickname, and we'll go along with it. So, and then afterwards, when we started actually writing our books for the Italians, because we developed our own methodology of teaching English to foreigners using hypnotic stories.
Using hypnotic language patterns and NLP, but they were our own stories that we made up.
Mm-hmm. So I take it you both speak Italian then as well?
We do. Well, yes, we do live here. We've lived here for over 20 years now, so yes, we are.
Hey, I know some people who've lived in Spain most of their life and they still can't speak a word in Spanish.
We also speak Spanish because our mother was Spanish, so we're a bit of a bilingual family, I think, aren't we?
We're definitely bilingual, but I mean, that's how the English sort of began. It started out of fun, and then we thought it was cute, and then we're sisters.
And we also thought it was important to differentiate ourselves. Now we know more. In those days, we didn't really know about that kind of branding language, but now we know more.
Yeah.
We know it was a point of making ourselves a little bit different to all the other
hypnotherapists. You were already doing the therapy and NLP stuff before you got dubbed the English Sisters, yeah?
Well, first we were dubbed the English Sisters, then we started doing the hypnotherapy. So then we thought, well, we can use that English Sisters name as to sort of get known as a brand name.
Yeah, we thought, we keep it as our brand. It was cute. People knew us, and then we started going online, and then there was curiosity about the name, and we thought, where there's curiosity, there's usually the cat. The cat comes, and so the cat came, and it was good for us, and we thought, look, we're sticking with this name. Apart from the fact it's cute, and we really are sisters, and we love working together. We did have a dilemma about that as well.
We had a whole dilemma because we're very anti-conventional. So we thought, can we be called the English Sisters and be hypnotherapists? Can we be called the English Sisters and then see clients as the English Sisters? I mean, what is this? Who are they? At the beginning, it was all like that. It was like, fumbling like in the dark. Until the light came, until everyone seemed to accept it. They knew now. Now it's just like normal. But then it was like weird.
It was weird. Yeah.
So when you get, I know as people will see when they visit your website and stuff, which we'll give out later, that you do corporate stuff, stress management, going into companies and stuff, as well as seeing clients on a 2-to-1 basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you find that works? Because obviously the majority of people who'll be watching this are one man or one woman or one gender neutral. I suppose we have to say these days so I don't get attacked. Bands, businesses. Whereas the closest I can think of off the top of my head to your good selves is that the only people I know, they might do seminars together, other people, but actually see clients on a 1-to-2 basis. Are the British Life Coaches, the Speakmans, the husband and wife team. And I know, having worked with them in the past, they said that they found that once they'd worked out sort of signals to nod at each other when one should shut up and the other should speak type thing, they found that having two of them, albeit it sounds a bit like bullying this, but in a positive, constructive manner, two of them gave more kind of power, force and dynamic to the session.
Well, I think it's that age-old story of if there's one dancing, it's only one person dancing, but if there's two dancing, there's two people dancing and it's a bit of a crowd, then the crowd joins. So I think if there's two of us when we go to see a client, there's already a massive positive intention. There's no way the client's not going to get better.
I mean, he sees us, we're both, or her, and we're both saying the same thing, maybe in a slightly different way. The crowd is telling you to change.
But that's compounding it. Yeah, it's like getting a second opinion, isn't it?
That's it. And so they see one, they see two, even though we dress as one, to add to the team and the slight confusion of the whole thing.
Well, I noticed that. And all your kind of stuff that you put out, social media and everything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't mean this offensively, but you were not identical twins.
No.
But at first sight on social media, if you've not met you in person, at first sight capture, it's like before you take a closer look, so you've got the attention at that point, which is the first rule of advertising.
Yes.
The fact that you do dress like mirror image, like identical twins, it draws the eye. And it's nice to hear you did that purpose.
Yes, it's part of the induction. You know, it really is part of the hypnotic induction. That one, there are two, but they can be perceived as one, and the confusion slightly begins there. And then the tones of the voice are similar.
The client has to get their head around everything.
Yes,
that's brilliant.
Yes,
that disorientation and confusion. It's bypassing the critical faculty, isn't it?
Exactly. We don't even have to do an induction. No. As soon as our client, as soon as we open the door or we say hello on Skype, they're already hypnotized. Yeah. Because they're in a state of focused attention. They're looking at us and wondering.
Their problem is to one side, as they have to figure out what is going on here. Yes. These are two adult women. Why are they dressed the same? Okay, you know, all this figuring it out.
They're professional, yet they act. People think we're like children.
Yes, they do laugh a lot with us. So that's.
But that's brilliant as well, because as we learn, the childlike state itself is theta. It is
exactly.
Is reprogramming.
So, for instance, when we were at the airport coming back from London recently. The man, he was so embarrassed in the end because we bought some bracelets.
Yeah, and of course they were the same ones.
They were exactly the same. And then he said, "Would you like to put them on?" Would you like to wear them? So we said, "What? Like when we were little, like children?" And then he almost went bright red because he was like, we're like kind of women that are adults, and he thought, "Oh my." But really, it's because he'd gone back into that.
He knew why he was doing
automatic regression.
Regression and happiness, and he was just in a little world of our hypnotic world that we developed him in.
And that often happens when we buy shoes. They always say, "Do you want to wear them then?" And we go, "Yes, I do."
Okay, we'll wear them. Put them on and wear them. Shall we put your other shoes
Your old shoes. Should we put your old shoes away? And we think, okay, this is
done with our permission, because obviously we allow them to go into that happy state because we think it's fun and it's healthy for them. It's nice to have a childlike view of the world. We love it. We love it.
However, when they automatically go in that state in shops, have you ever, I'm not saying abused it, but has it naturally occurred that perhaps they've ended up giving you the cheaper price because they automatically thought you were stupid? Or
they always want to give us the cheaper price. It's sometimes and they try desperately to knock we'll give you this and we'll give you this extra. We often just say, look, it's okay. Thank you very much. You're really kind, but please don't be concerned about this. We do get,
but we get it because
they giggle and
because they have fun, and then they feel as if we've given them something. We're giving them because we're really nice to people. The truth is that we're nice people. We love people. So whenever we go, I suppose our aim is when we go around is to create this happiness, a bit like a fairy tale world, a bit like a fantasy world where change can happen very quickly and swiftly, and it can happen if you're talking to the barman or we do hypnosis all the time.
Yes,
we cannot stop doing it.
No,
especially when we're together and we're dressed like the English sisters. We immediately go into that hypnotic trance state.
I'm going to pick up on that sentence in there. People who are watching, you can always rewind this video and watch it again when it's out there. But you said, when we're dressed like the English sisters, that so encompasses. It's like Uri Geller. I've seen him lecture, and he talks about Uri Geller, the brand, like a third person, and that's what you just naturally did then. So I know that you are now the English sisters who I am talking to on this interview, and that's the context. Is there times when you're not on camera, just for the curiosity of people at home, not on camera, you're at home, that you become Violeta and Jutka as opposed to
Yes, of course, we know when we're not the English sisters, and sometimes we say, let's be the English sisters. We want to be, because for us, the English sisters represent fun. It's creative. It's that part of our passion, and we're always so happy when we're the English sisters. It's a translate state for us, isn't it?
It is, and I think it's the best we can ever be when we're being English sisters. So sometimes, if I'm on my own and I'm being ratty or something, I think I'm not being an English sister. Get your boots on, get into that mojo, because it just encompasses.
It's the best of each of our qualities. In this little ball of energy that we create. It doesn't matter what we're doing. We don't have to be filming. We could just be on our own.
Yeah, we do everything as all day, except for when we're at home with our husbands and our children. But even then, we're still very hypnotic.
Yes,
I think we haven't separated the two completely.
It sounds kind of like what in NLP, for people who are watching it, who've done NLP, they probably relate to it as state management, or an anchored state to the persona and your outfits and stuff. And I think that's quite an interesting one, in the sense that there's lots of therapists out there who I think part of the reason they are not perhaps as successful as they could be, they can be incredibly skilled, but is that they've not necessarily found themselves. They're being what they think they're supposed to be because, I'm a therapist, so therefore as a man I've got to wear the suit, shirt and tie. As a woman I've got to wear the business suit or something. But because that's not congruently who they are, or even close to there, I think that is a barrier to success, whereas you are embracing it.
Well, we tried that at first. I mean, we did try and be different.
Not to be the English.
We tried, but it was we tried to model like these other hypnotherapists we knew, and we tried all of that. But really, I mean, what's the point?
Really, if
not
we
going to
say,
work.
what are the English sisters? The English sisters are really us. It's us at our best.
Yeah.
And it just happens that we've called it the English sisters now because that's the name we came up with. But really, it's us. And so when we ever have any clients that are looking to brand themselves or looking to be the best, we just say, just be you, but be something a bit like creative. Do like a little creative stance on what you would normally be like, but be congruent. Don't, you know, try and be someone that you're not, like what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to work.
It doesn't work. We try to be.
I mean, if we pretended to be the English sisters, we could never get away with it. It's because really we are the English sisters. People that wanted, some people around the world say, I'm your English sister, I'm your Italian brother, and I'm your English sister, I'm your this and that. But they encompass the fun aspect and the good things about us, the kindness and everything else that goes with it. But we can never like fake this because it's too much to fake.
It's too much to fake and far too much of a hard job.
And
you can't be fun, would it? Oh, it'd be awful. It'll be awful if so. It's just too difficult, isn't it?
The sad thing is, there's a lot of people in the world of celebrity who do fake it.
Well, they're the ones that need our help.
Yes,
because they're the ones that find themselves that they can't live up to it.
It's not sustainable because it's not you.
Hence the escapism to drugs, alcohol, and all manner of things. Yeah.
Forms of evasion to get away from what they're trying to be. But if you are who you are and what you're supposed to be, I don't even know if supposed to be is the right word.
We evade into being the English sisters when we're in a bad mood or something.
We say, let's go as the English sisters. If we have sometimes we think we're a bit crazy, you know, because we take it to quite, you know, like even going to hospital for a visit, for example, we will go as the English sisters. Right. And all the doctors and the medical, they'll be so surprised to see, but there's a reason for this, isn't there? Because it helps us, because it's useful for us to be the English sisters. So yes, you can say we
go as well. We cheer people.
We cheer them.
People like it.
So they love it. They call us in to see patients, whether it's for our stuff or for somebody else. Definitely, yeah.
I think secretly a lot of them probably, maybe you said before, it pushes that childlike button, but I think secretly a lot of them are like probably envious that they wish they could have the confidence to just not care.
I suppose it is a form of rebellion, actually.
It is, yeah.
It's like a form of not caring what other people think. Just say, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to be this. And you have to, you have to ignore it or accept it, but it doesn't really matter. This is what we want to do, you see. Whenever we think about what should we do next, if we're going to do videos, or we always think, do we want to do it? Is it going to be fun? Is it going to be enjoyable? Is it going to give sometimes it's not that fun and it's hard work, but if we think it's going to help people, you know, we'll do it. But the overall general 80% has to be nice stuff that we like doing because it's our lives, and I think that's a message for everyone, isn't it?
Well, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
You've got one life to live.
So obviously you do stuff you enjoy, which I think is a very important message for people watching. It's like John Paul Getty, I believe, said, find what you enjoy doing most, then find somebody to pay you for it, and you'll never work another day in your life.
Yeah, that's it.
So that is kind of, I know, going to be the answer to this question. Essentially, it's that you enjoy doing it. It's something you like. I've seen other therapists who you go to their website and they do therapy, and they may also be, well, actually not so much therapy. Well, I have seen a therapist who then puts themselves into trance, or at least this is their marketing. I have no reason to disbelieve them. And then when they're in trance, they find they can do really good paintings and stuff, and they sell those paintings on the website as well. But it's not quite like that, what you're doing. I know it's on your website. You also sell vintage luxury lighting and crystal chandeliers on the same website as your therapy services, which some people in marketing would say is a bit batshit crazy and really doesn't happen. I look at it and think, well, because you are that brand, the English Sisters, and this is what you do, that it makes sense. Tell us a bit about how that came about.
Well, that came about from a passion. We do live in Italy, and we live in the country where they produce hand-blown glass, such as Murano, and all these beautiful pieces of art. And we became passionate about it. My husband is also passionate about that. So maybe that, you know, kind of started it. And then we thought, why not? Why don't we start selling this stuff?
First we thought, can we do it? It's against all the advice in the world. website.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they know, because we're the English sisters. So when people Google the English sisters, they just find out all about us. And when we're selling a luxury light to the USA, to our celebrity clients over there, because we've got beautiful people that buy lovely lights.
We've got lots of celebrities who buy our lights. Yeah.
They think, who the hell are the English sisters? But they just Google us, or they come on Instagram and they see that we're really nice people because we're hypnotherapists and we help people. So
as that, I mean, I know you can't mention names, I know client confidentiality, so I'm not asking you to break that, but has, through selling the lighting and stuff to that kind of clientele, led to any of them ending up seeking your services from the therapist side?
They have, yes, and they do. They write us on Instagram and they say, could they come and see us? Because obviously now we can do things on Skype. So if you were a client now, we would be here like you would see us now, and we would just be talking to you and doing therapy for you. Make you feel better.
Often, if they don't require the actual therapy, they'll buy our products. They'll buy a book along with a light, and they'll be interested, or they just become one of our followers.
Otherwise,
they become part of our family, as we call it.
People come on our Etsy shop and they see our Etsy and they don't know who we are because they've never heard of us, but then they'll go and see that we write books, or they just read our bio a minute. It gives trust, doesn't it? Because you want...
Anyway, we wanted to do it, so we thought, what the hell, we're going to do this. And in life, can you really separate everybody? I mean, you're Jonathan, Alex, I mean, but you do probably loads of other stuff. You're not just one thing.
No.
You're a multitude, or an entire complexity. So why does it just have to be one thing? I mean, we're not just hypnotherapists. We also do this, and we also do a whole load of other stuff.
You've been clever enough to make yourself a brand, Law. A lot of people, I think, are either scared, or not necessarily whether it'll work or not, but scared of the idea that trying to create a brand might make them look kind of egotistical or arrogant, because who do you think you are? You're portraying yourself as some kind of brand, like some kind of celebrity, and initially obviously you're not, till it picks up and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, at first you're nobody, but then you still are somebody because you were born somebody with a name.
Yeah, you're still yourself.
If you haven't been given a name, you can invent one. I mean, it's a limiting of belief, isn't it?
And it does take a bit of courage as well to say, yes, I'm going to do this. At first, we did require courage from what we were doing. We used to go around with stickers on our cars in these medieval villages, promoting with our little faces on the car. I mean, come on, it took courage to do that. Everybody knows everybody around here. If you do anything that's slightly different, you are immediately, oh my gosh, what's going on? No, your wife, you're there, but what's happening here? And so, yes, it does take a bit of courage, but
I think you have to have a vision. If you know, I mean, we became so passionate about hypnotherapy and NLP when we first learned it that we wanted to teach the world it. I suppose everybody, loads of people that go into hypnotherapy and NLP feel the same way, because it's something that it's like before we had nice lives and it was really great, but it's like when you learn these things, you feel as if you're kind of suddenly awake. You know what's going on in your mind. You're aware of when you're in a bad mood, when you're in a good mood, when you're about to cry, when you're about to laugh. Oh, that was all just unconscious. It didn't make sense. So that was what we wanted to share in the beginning. But of course, 10, 11 years ago, we weren't anybody. We had all these lovely experts that you're interviewing now that were, loads of them were already at the top of our field. And we were, at that time, we wouldn't, no one even knew who we were. But then gradually, just by being there and doing things, by being and doing, we became...
And by believing, I think it's a question of being congruent and continuously, you know, posting things, putting your name out there. You know, it's like what they say at the supermarket. You have to see something like 3 times before you buy it. So they saw us like 3,000 times. And then people started buying us, buying into who we were, buying into our story, started to believe us. That's what it is. It's a lot
of the experts make out that social media and stuff is about getting results now, and in some degree it can be, well, obviously, so I'm not going to contradict them there, but I found that, you know, I will randomly get an order or an email and the person's referring to something. I haven't got a clue what they're referring to. So I email them back and they copy and paste something I posted like 10 years ago.
Yes, that's it.
And I think people, if they don't get an instant, and at the time it didn't really sell much, and then suddenly for some reason it showed up in Google because God knows people have been searching for a certain thing. I think people give up because they think, oh, if it doesn't immediately give gratification, they don't see the value of building things up. And clearly you've been consistent and planting the seeds for a long time.
Yeah, I think it has to be, you have to be congruent, and it has to be you. You have to want to do it. It has to be you. You have to be a natural at it, even though you may not be natural in the beginning. But once you
acquire the skills.
And you acquire the skills, it has to be part of you. It can't be like we see a lot of therapists like bad mouthing each other. I mean, I don't think that's part of being, if you've learned NLP and hypnosis or hypnotherapy, you shouldn't be doing that to other therapists. You know, you should be kind in your heart. I think if you're going to be helping people, it has to come from a really lovely, kind place to be like what we would consider real therapists, a real to help. So I think if you are congruent and you've got this feeling that you can, because I mean, there is so much stress and anxiety in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we really do want to make a difference to help people realize it doesn't have to be that way. It can be lovely. Your life can be calm.
You can feel better. You can feel so much better than you are now.
And it can be amazing. It can be just like in a blink of an
eye. Can I just say, right now, I sat here looking at my screen as we interview, and obviously I've got myself in a little top corner. When this goes out, it'll be a half and half screen. But I'm looking, and as you both suddenly talk, and the timing was perfect there, because your word finished, you came in.
Yes,
and I'm looking left to right, and I stop you because I just want to draw people's attentions at home, perhaps rewind, pay attention. I can see how well that would work in a hypnotic induction.
Yes.
And therapy, because it's almost a swinging watch, that.
That's exactly. It's like a rolling wave. It's like a swing.
And it's like a calming influence. It stays with you.
It stays with you
in the days and weeks to come.
And it really does.
And it's beneficial. And it goes from your heart to your head. And everything we've been talking about suddenly makes sense.
Brilliant. And you suddenly put things together, causes the disorientation and confusion, which is critical faculty bypass. Anyone watching, if you don't realise how valuable the past sort of 60 seconds were in terms of demonstrating fixation of attention, confusion, movement, left to right, with the eyes, voice tones, rolling, it's all there. That was a prime example of how to do hypnotic fixation induction.
But we think that the hypnotic fixation is already healing, because how many people actually look at each other properly?
Actually look into each other's eyes.
Think about it, usually only when you fall in love that happens.
Yeah, they say it only takes a few seconds to look into somebody's eyes if you like that person, and you can potentially fall in love with them. So when you do use the hypnotic fixation, it can be a deep sense of connection, a deep sense of love.
And that sense of connection, especially for people that feel deprived of love, like we know you teach about a lot, just knowing that someone has their full attention on you and is willing to be there to make you feel better and to help you heal in whatever problem you have, that's already that's practically already.
That's massive, yeah.
Yes, it's massive.
Because how many times do people go to someone and they think, even when you go to your own doctor, you think they're not really listening to me?
No, that is a shame.
So I think that's all. I just think that kind of hypnosis just kind of happens all by itself, and then the healing just takes place. Because when we see clients, we don't have to do that.
No, we don't.
The fear of me almost sounding what I refer to at seminars as winky wanky, farty farty, but still, I'm gonna, during the course of these interviews, I've been going into some weird territory, so hey, let's do it. Saying about the eyes, how you can fall in love in a split second, and there's that saying, isn't there, that the eyes are the window to the soul.
Exactly.
Now, yes. If we take the soul in metaphysical terms as meaning a form of energy,
yes,
and therefore vibration,
yes.
Can I just got a sense from what you were just saying there before that almost that you are working on what energy healers, the kind of areas I sometimes refer to as winky wanky arty farty, just mainly because of the way they explain it, but working on the connecting, the vibrational energy level.
Well, it's like as if people, it's like what I said, when we see people, they immediately tell us all about their families, all their things. It's just like there's an immediate, what would you say, rapport, immediate understanding. I know you, we know each other. And it's really because we're really there for that person. When we're talking to someone, we really are talking to them.
We really are
and
listening.
We're fully engaged and really curious and interested in them.
So genuinely, and that comes across.
And the lack of distraction and the complete focus of attention is what gets them. It's what heals them.
I mean,
we didn't really used to believe in all this arty thing. This energy before. We didn't even know it existed.
No.
But if you think about it, it's just, how can it not?
Of course. I mean, look at the cats and the dogs.
Yeah. If you're next to somebody that's really tense, you're going to feel tense.
It's just a
if
state
you're
of
next to a lovely, smiley, lovely, calm person, even if you are tense at the beginning, you're going to start relaxing and getting into a good mood.
It rubs off. Come on, it just rubs off.
So if that's what you call energy, then I mean, humans are supposed to interact. We're supposed to see each other, look at each other, listen to each other properly.
We're supposed to trance out, all the time, all throughout the day.
And this
is a natural state of trancing out. I mean, if you think of us years and years ago when we were all primitive, we would just be trancing out loads of times, looking at the trees and the open crackling fire. Everyone was just staring into the fire and going into their lovely little trances. I mean, we still do that nowadays when we watch Netflix and we trance out other ways. But trancing out in each other's
distraction.
There is more distraction.
If you're looking at the fire, it's more like a meditative state.
Well, obviously there's not that much of a story behind the fire, is there? Except for the crackling presence of the fire. Whereas if you're watching television, you're going into a different state.
Into their agenda, whatever they're trying to give you. If you're watching a horror, you're going to a horror movie. If you're watching a love story,
you're still fully engaged.
Yes, but in the fire, you just go into the fire.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I was thinking about this morning. In the fire, you go into the fire, you watch the flames, you look at it, you can smell it. It's a presence. It's being in the present moment, which is so trancey, I think.
And
we bring them back, archives, into the present.
All the time distortion, you don't know how
long being there, it all occurs in those moments.
When magical.
It's all magical.
I noticed from what you did, I kept quiet on purpose then for a bit, but amongst that suddenly you went into what I would call descriptive language. So you're kind of describing the one thing, but between you in different ways. So I suppose in NLP it'd relate to what they call the VACOG thing: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. Why the frigging hell they have to use language? Taste, smell, see, feel, and hear things. In other words, and I think this is something you clearly just naturally do now. Don't even have to think about it, and it's clear in your books that I've looked at, especially the kids ones, although obviously there is Entrancing Tales for Change. And incidentally, if you go on Amazon, guys and girls watching, and just tap in the English Sisters, all the books will come up. Or easier, go to the website, which will obviously plug properly later, and will be, as you're watching this video, the link will be underneath it, so it'll be dead easy to click onto. But descriptive language, triggering because people have different sensory representational systems, allegedly. But what it got me thinking then as I was observing you and what we said before about energy, is it real or not, which clearly it is. My reasoning for in the past having kind of been flippant, saying arty-farty, winky-wanky, because some of the tree-huggy types, as I would say, so that they feel they're doing something special, will come up with all these paranormal, supernatural, new agey sounding ways of describing things that be far more acceptable, frankly, to me, and I'm sure a lot of people, if they were just described the way you did earlier about, look at the animals, you can meet someone and take an instant dislike to them, or you can instantly like them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same with hypnotherapy training and NLP. I think there's a lot of people, they want to feel a sense of importance by, I know these fancy words and terminologies, rather than simplifying it.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we're all about, simplifying things.
Yeah.
But we do love the fancy words sometimes.
Yeah, we do love them because very clever people invented them, and language is fundamental to
and language enriches your brain. So if you have more vocabulary, it actually enriches your experience. So we're not.
No, we notice that when we speak the different languages, don't we?
We do, but sometimes we notice that sometimes it is a bit too, you can't wrap your head around it.
A bit too technical, yeah.
So it's nice to just bring it back down to basics.
Yeah, just basics. Why do you go to see two hypnotherapists for like the English? It's just because you want to feel better. Will you feel better? Yes, you will. And that's it.
Two helps you be this unique brand. Excellent. Also, I suppose, and you don't, please, you don't, I'm not asking you to name figures. It's just in a generalized manner. I'm asking this question. Most people watching are going to be one man or one women businesses, therapists.
Yeah.
So obviously anything that comes in after their expenses, all the reward is theirs. Obviously, when there's two of you,
it's twice the
price. Yeah. It is twice the price.
Now, that's got pros and cons, obviously, hasn't it? There's prestige, and I see yourself as very much positioning yourself the prestige market, also because of the, the lighting tie-in. And then there's the con side that, that butts off some people purely just because they can't afford it. I mean, what are your thoughts on things like that, pricing in relation to brand?
For the people that can't afford it, obviously we sympathise with them, but we do so much free material.
Yeah.
So they're all our YouTube videos,
everything, Instagram. There's loads of stuff they can get. When they do write to us and they say we can't afford it, we say we totally appreciate where you're coming from. Please go and get this free and all this free stuff.
Free videos.
Yeah, we do special videos for them a lot of the time. Yeah.
So,
do you think some of them are lying, Lord? They don't realise. I'm not saying necessarily lying on purpose, but lying to themselves.
I think that some people, what happens with some people is that I think it's also, we charge a lot because we feel we're worth a lot and we're going to give them a lot. So, I mean, if you're spending £1,000, say, on cigarettes every, 3 months, I don't even know how much they cost because we don't smoke, we don't really do smoking, but there's people prioritize things in their life and they will spend money on some things. So there's very, very few people that really, really are. And
I mean, isn't it a shame? Because some people will like to go, I can't afford your fee to, cure my phobia. That means that then I'd be able to fly, so I could go overseas and accept the promotion and earn me more money. Because I've got no spare money apparently, and yet they'll be spending out. They'll be getting the sports channel and the film channel, and they're spending out a ton of money on that, and then they've just bought the latest iPhone for £800.
Or they go on a night out. I mean, there's priorities and there's things. So if they're really desperate, and we've never turned anyone away. If anyone ever writes to us, we always answer them and help.
Always, yeah.
So, and sometimes we do pro bono as well. But for the rest of the normal people, they can afford it in the end because they, instead of maybe, it might cost like 3 or 4 hypnotherapy sessions, you'll pay for one. But we're going to give added value in that one session. And they always feel better and get better. They never get away without getting better.
They cannot not get better. That's what we tell them at the very beginning. So there is no other way of doing this except for getting better. They're paying a lot as well, so they think I will definitely
want to get better, as you well know, and they want to keep a little bit of their problem, and we let them keep it if they want it. So
if they want it, they can
feel
keep
better in other ways,
Absolutely.
and their life does take off afterwards.
You see, you've got me convinced. I've been in this business for 30 years. Therapy, and you know that you were at the Royal event in Birmingham. You know that I talk in terms of it being placebo, triggers, and attitude, and you've got to totally believe, so you transmit that intent to the client. But you do it so anyone watching this, again, I say rewind and watch again. You've just had, well, the entire interview's been an example of it, but certainly in the past couple of minutes, a prime example of positive intent projection.
Yes.
It can't do anything except work for them.
Exactly.
It's impossible not to.
It just works.
We won't let that happen.
No, we won't let it happen. They know it won't happen.
And we have the resources not to let it happen, because we know how to hack all their conscious.
Yes.
You know how to hack all the conscious, maybe like all the opposite. We've worked the most difficult clients. The ones that are most like, I don't trust you. I don't, because some of them before, especially before,
they were referred to us.
By
other colleagues,
professionals. How can you be too? What? They are the ones that love us the most at the end, and that get the most benefit from.
And they're really lovely, because they're like our skeptical clients, especially at the beginning, and we really treasure them. I mean, we had this one lady. Now, I don't believe you too. I've been forced to come here. I really do not believe any of this fancy. I don't know what I don't understand it. I don't like it.
Oh, I don't like hypnosis.
I don't like you too. Basically, we thought, wow, she's going to be a treat to work with. We thought it was so hilarious that she was being so honest as well. It was like embarrassing, but we thought, wow, but she was a treat to work with. She's been one of our favorites.
At the end, she said,
we love her now.
Hypnosis. I love doing the arm. As soon as it go in, she'd put her arm out. Please do the arm induction.
And she was an important professional, that was referred to us by other professionals, other doctors. They were all doctors, and they said, please help her, because she's sending our clients, and she was in the private practice. She's sending them away. Her manners, her attitude. She
was amazing, really, but she didn't have many people skills, really. So we taught her a few.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing, because stereotypically people are trained to believe, I'm going to use the word believe, that it's not a good idea to take on a client who says they don't.
That's right.
Well, we took her on, but we said, obviously, just try one session. Then obviously, if you feel it doesn't work for you, that's fine. But after one session, she was completely, this is starting to work. I feel a bit different.
In the end, she said she felt disarmed, which was an interesting observation, to think that before she was armed, and then she's now disarmed.
That's the thing, though, with two of you. I'm guessing everyone else she's seen before is just one person.
Exactly.
It's easy to attack one person. It's like, when you have the difficult client that's okay, they have it kind of in for you.
Yeah.
But with two of us, I mean, one of them, they're attacking you.
Oh, yeah, sometimes. I mean, she was attacking me.
Laughing in a nice way. Not laughing at them, but just the fact that we take life with such a pinch of humour as well.
We do think things are really funny.
We find people funny. We find ourselves funny.
Yeah. So we think we're hilarious.
The situation is quite comedic.
It's very comedic.
It's very disarming for them.
It's very comical. It's absolutely hilarious. Most of the
people they get disarmed by that, and then their defences fall down, because you can't really be that angry if you start to laugh, can you?
It's brilliant. Again, I've got to say to the people at home that none of this has been set up. None of the interviews I've done with anyone, I've not told them in advance what I'm going to ask, what order it's going to be asked, or anything like that. So there's been no chance for preparation. So when you are witnessing natural timing and takeover and all. It's happening. It genuinely is happening naturally, which makes me think about, have you ever heard like I'm going to use Paul McKenna as an example, some of his older audio recordings where when you listen to them, suddenly you hear his voice in this ear, and then it's this ear, then it's both ears at once.
Yes, that's lovely. That's beautiful. That's exactly.
You're doing, but that's what a client's getting with both of you.
And we do have them sit in the centre, and we are sitting either side of them. So we're not actually right in their faces, as to say, they become part of us, like, and we talk to them from either side. So they just can't.
Yeah, a lot of our clients we see on Skype as well.
On Skype as well, yeah, I know, that's true.
They see us, but they see us like what you would be seeing us now. But I mean, we just kind of tell each other off as well. So maybe if the client's saying something, I side with the client. Because we might think, not because we're being disingenuous, but we think it's true. So they just think, I think they just think.
What do you mean we tell each other off?
If you say something.
You will tell me, even if the client is there.
Yeah, or just be natural like this.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like having friends.
It's a bit like having friends. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I might say no, not necessarily. I do agree with Jonathan what you're saying here.
Exactly. And I say, well, why do you? And then we'll have a little conversation, and that's already.
This is right. I'm sorry. Well, whether it was your intention or not, I ended up laughing then, and slightly lost for a few moments. But now that I'm regaining my composure, it made me. You reminded me of Dr. Patch Adams, and there's the film Patch Adams that the comedian played, and the key of it was that he helped kids especially with terminal illnesses, to feel less pain, to be more positive, arguably to live longer through being the clown, Patch Adams, and making them laugh.
Yes.
Also, it occurred to me that laughter, they say laughter's the best medicine, unless you're diabetic, then insulin works pretty well. But that laughter is something that people generally do more of with, and you said this word a few moments ago, with, as a rule, friends, people they already feel relaxed around and already have a feeling of security, safety, trust, are all things that by no mere coincidence, obviously, are vital to someone accepting change or help from someone.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. They're vital. You have to. They exactly. It's vital. It's always been like that.
They kind of want, when they see us, they kind of want to get better already. Because they want to be a bit like us. They want to have that kind of good feeling.
They do,
So a lot of us say, I wish I had a sister. I wish you were around a bit more. And they say, well, we are around. Just come and,
you're always going to be part of our family. There is a family thing. So once they do get to know us, they become, hey, come along.
We talk to people, our clients. We talk to them on WhatsApp. If they have a problem, they'll contact us. We'll answer them. So we are there for our clients. We're expensive, but we're there for them. And they know it. And in the end, if they spend, like, say, £2,000, but they're going to get better. So if we do, like, a few sessions with them and they end up spending £2,000, but then instead of going on holiday where they might spend £2,000 on their holiday, like what you were saying, and then spend £2,000 on booze and drink and nightclubs or whatever, or drugs, unfortunately. But, what's going to be better for them in the end? I think the English
also targeted. I mean, the kind of clientele that you're selling your lighting to, and obviously in Italy where you are, I know there's poorer areas, but generally speaking, it's quite lucrative. People are quite cashed up. They a couple of grand. They'll think nothing of spending that on a handbag.
Yes,
but why shouldn't they look after themselves?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And people watching, you probably think about, I'm not in Italy. I haven't got these types of people.
Well, that's fine. Then you can just come and talk to us on Facebook or on Instagram and just, join our family, because we want to be. I mean, our aim is like to do more Instagram TV.
That's what we're going to be doing, aren't we?
We have been talking with
Sure.
TV media, all this kind of thing, so that we can get the kind of the word out there more, because we do realise that not everyone's got all the cash, or maybe not everyone's ready to spend it either.
But even if they're not ready to spend it, there are resources out there which they can listen to for free.
And they can see us that we're hypnotherapists. We'd like to think we're giving other hypnotherapists a good name, because if they see us, they say, "Oh, well, I can't afford to go to the English." But there's a hypnotherapist, Julie,
down the road.
Go to, and she's only 50 quid, and I can go to her and I can afford her, and I know that hypnotherapy is good now. It's a good thing that's going to make me feel better.
Yes, let's break down these. If there's
No, I agree. It's good for everyone. The more people on all different levels, so to speak, in the industry, rather than it being this massive envious thing. There's so many egos out there, or
the people that are very egoistic, it's really because they kind of need help themselves.
They do. They need
to
have
insecure in
I
think. Because otherwise there's no need to be, because the more the word gets out about hypnotherapy and how amazing it is, the more people are going to benefit from it, and people really do need to benefit.
And there's not enough hypnotherapists out there. I don't care if they say there's loads of them in Britain. There's still going to be more other professionals than hypnotherapists. It's never going to be enough, really.
Couldn't agree more. It comes down to actually making people aware of how you can help them in a manner where they want the help from you.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't really matter, how many.
And hypnotherapy
is good for everybody.
You don't have to limit hypnotherapy just to therapy. You could be a hypnotherapist and start your own gym and use all your hypnotherapy skills in the gym.
That'd be wonderful. You could be a teacher and be
a teacher and use your hypnotherapy skills. So just get the word out about how amazing this is, how amazing it is to access, this part of your mind, and not many of us know how to access anymore. Like what you said before, you know how to access it when you're a child, and afterwards you forget.
I don't know why you forget, but
because
you do.
It's not taught, and we're taught.
It's because it's not. That's right. Yeah,
and we're constantly being bombarded with the what's it called? The adrenaline hit of the iPhones and the TV and other people's agenda. How many people have really just got it? Like, say now we live here in the mountains. If we just wanted to lock ourselves up here for a week and not go out and just like meditate or just do our own thing and have that kind of pajama days, we could do that. But how many people actually do that? How many people actually take the time to actually not do anything and just allow their mind?
Well, I'm not talking about a whole week. What about for 1 hour? 1 hour seems like massive.
Taking you to the extreme, because then a few minutes will seem like nothing.
Yeah, a few minutes to people. Yeah, what about just taking a few minutes to look at that tree, or if you want to talk about trees? I mean, it's just to go into a little
trance.
When
we go to work, we've got things in our ears. When we go, things on our phones. I love technology. We love technology.
Crazy about it.
Mad about it, because it's amazing.
It's magic.
It's magical. It's like having a magic wand, but appreciate the magic wand and allow the magic to be white magic and not black magic.
Exactly.
So keep away all those stories that are going to make you stressed. If there's nothing, our policy, there's nothing you can do about it, ignore it.
Ignore it.
You can do something about it, deal with it. But if you can't, other people's agenda, other people's politics, other people's gossip, how much gossip is, leave it alone, and you will come home to your own mind.
To your own mind, to feeling better now quickly. Exactly. That's exactly it. Leave it alone and you will come home.
Because I don't know where
you and you that has to come back home, and each and every one of you know what we're saying. By saying this, you will come home. You will indeed come home, because your home is your mind and your body. Your mind has to be decorated in a comfortable way, because it's your home. So you have to come home.
Yeah, go out and come back home.
Come back home every now and again. Experience how wonderful your home can be. And your home will go everywhere with you.
I've got to tell you, people watching, I'm sure that you realised how hypnotic those past couple of minutes were anyway, but if you want more examples, and now that you've witnessed the English sisters on this interview, I'm sure you'll hear it in their voice as you read the words on the page. Go and search out their books, everything from Stress Free in 3 minutes, Entrancing Tales for Change, and then there's a whole bunch of them for the kids. But even though they're for kids, you know what? Nothing says you as an adult can't read them. The little grasshopper and the big ball of dung, the little sparrow and the chimney pot. There's a whole bunch of them on their website, and the hypnotic language, the weaving of words that you've seen it throughout this interview occurring. You've heard it, you've experienced it. Is there, and on the one hand, you'll enjoy reading them, but on the other hand, if you're a member of the public, you'll enjoy reading them. And it'd be beneficial anyway. If you're in the industry, as most people watching this are likely to be, you will find phrases and things that you'll go, you know what, I'm going to pinch that and stick it in my therapy session. It's well worth your time to go and get their books and read them and study them, and I'm sure you'll actually hear their voices. You'll experience it as though they're reading it to you. That's something. Have you actually made your books into like audiobooks, Audible?
They are. They're on Audible as well.
Oh, right. Well, there you go. So you've got that option as well. So before we kind of bring this to a close, because sadly we're getting close to the end, and anyone watching, it might seem like I didn't ask many questions during this interview. And I didn't. Partly that was purposeful, and I have to admit, partly is because I ended up almost entranced at many points. But I didn't need to ask that many questions, because the things I would have asked and the things I've made notes of were naturally being demonstrated. And as somebody in this industry, if you are a hypnotherapist, NLPer, life coach, whatever title, Tibetan mind control, it doesn't matter what the title is. If you work with clients in a manner where you are speaking to them as some element of process to the ritual to help them achieve whatever, watch this interview back again from the beginning, and you have seen so many techniques that you have either read about, learnt on your other courses, heard about, and probably not actually bothered to use or realised the true value of. And if you bear that in mind and watch this interview again, you'll see how powerful some of the things you've probably taken for granted in the past actually are, because you've seen them in action. So my final question, you've naturally done it for me, thank you. We've already covered the fact there's two of you, that's your unique brand, that's your competitive advantage, that there's the confusion, disorientation, two voices wise, that there is visually as well, almost like the swinging watch. There's the pattern interrupt element of, heck, grown women, but almost dressed like kids, which is critical faculty by. We've covered all of those elements. We've covered more than at first sight it may seem. We've covered the fact you use all this conversational language, the Ericksonian type language, the voice tones. I mean, there's so much actually you've demonstrated in the past 60 minutes. It's amazing. What are your go-to, this is my final question, what are your main go-to techniques, the ones you value most in terms of strategies to help? And I know that's such an open-ended question, but
I think for me it would be to reframe the problem.
Okay. Reframing.
You mean instant reframing it? Yeah, I guess that's basically all it is, isn't it?
Well, yeah, seeing it from a different angle, isn't it?
Yeah, we do that a lot in therapy.
And also realizing that what you have already is more than you could have ever imagined, what you could have ever had.
That's not really a technique, is it? I think he's asking for like specific techniques. Are you asking?
I agree with what you both just said, without a doubt. People don't realise, I think it was the Mashirari your guru got off a plane in New York, kissed the ground, looked around him and said the most upsetting thing is they live in paradise and do not even realise it.
Yes, yeah, no, that is true.
So, yes, I mean, now that we've been talking, I don't know, every frame, metaphor, Ericksonian language, I suppose.
All the time, we teach them a lot about their own inner dialogue and their limiting beliefs as well. When we talk to clients, they don't know they have an inner dialogue. They're not aware of it.
But we invent things for them, like
it's all a lot of it is invented. Our own techniques are used.
The thing is that we're natural. We don't.
Well, anyone who's watching this will be able to testify to that. It's just been a masterclass in conversation hypnosis.
Learn all over the years that you just kind of spit out afterwards when it's necessary. Like our unconscious mind has absorbed it all. Obviously, we've studied as well.
We've studied a lot, but
you implemented it, and then you just put yourself into it. So all your own common sense as a woman, as an adult, as a mother, as a sister, brother, whatever. All that just put into it to help.
And that's it.
One final question. I just thought of it, and it's controversial, this.
Okay.
And I personally I'm going to write down on a piece of paper here my answer to this question so that I cannot alter it. And I'm going to fold it in half and then lift it up so it's on camera view so it can't be switched. I will open this piece of paper in a minute after you've answered, I promise. And you can see what I genuinely, truly, sincerely believe to be the truth to this question, which is, do you believe, I know there's two of you, so it's double the power, but generally speaking, people are one-person therapy businesses. Do you think men, by men, I'm anyone who takes offence at this, can't be me, okay? By men, I am categorically going to mean straight men. Okay? Because straight men could also encounter, but under straight men can also be the more masculine lesbian lady. It's the masculine energy, we'll call it. Over here, we've got the feminine energy, so that could be the gay man, or it could be the female. And there's all different genders. So to try not to offend people watching this, I'm going to categorize it as masculine energy, feminine energy. But in my terms, male or female. Which make the better therapists, in your honest opinion?
I think equal. I think there's equally good male therapists as there are female.
I believe it. You know, it's like that saying, when the student's ready, the master will arrive. It doesn't matter what the master is and whatever form he's in. I mean, he could be in the form of a horse or a dog. It's going to teach that person something. It's the right person for them, right thing, whatever. I don't think it makes that much difference.
Okay, I'll phrase it more esoterically then. Everybody has within them masculine and feminine energies.
Okay, yeah.
Whether male or female. Everyone has, it's like the yin and yang. Of those, which do you think is the most, and this is in the spiritual metaphysical sense, do you think the masculine or the feminine energies are more healing?
Well, the feminine energy is the mother, isn't it?
Yeah.
The mother's touch.
Just to...
Mama. La mama.
I bought woman, so you know, the female energy, I believe, is, and I think a lot of...
I can honestly say some of our greatest teachers have been men, and we have been healed by them. So I don't really, I think...
Clearly I'm not slagging men off, because I'm sat here and I run courses, but I just think there's a lot of people out there, both male and female, who perhaps get caught in a trap of thinking they have to kind of either be the very strict kind of masculine figure and not allow any more feminine traits.
Yeah. I think men should embrace the female, the more feminine energy, if you want to call it.
Totally agree.
And the same
the women as well. Yeah,
we have to embrace I think we all complement each other, whatever race, gender, whoever we are, we all complement and make this lovely tapestry. And I think some people...
It's impossible to... It cannot come apart. It's like those beautiful rugs, the woven, those rugs. I mean, they're gorgeous. The ones that they weave by hand. You can't.
Because where do the men come from? They come from the woman.
And then they spend the rest of their life trying to get back in.
Without the woman, there wouldn't be, without the man, there wouldn't be a woman. So we're like interwoven, aren't we? And then anything in between, whatever, sexuality, whatever,
that makes no
difference.
difference.
We're all humans. And what are humans? Humans are nature.
Nature itself, they are beings, and they are you have to be.
We are nature.
That's the end of it. We've gone back to the trees.
And you know what, that is a brilliant point to it, because nature,
we're nature, we're natural.
Everybody thinks you have to go out in nature and be in nature. Look, you don't even have to bother. You are nature. Just look at yourself and think. Just think you are nature. You go home. You go home. Go home. Go back to yourself, and that's it.
Look at. We're growing like the trees.
We
Our
are.
fingernails grow.
Everything grows. It's amazing. We live in these wonderful, strange bodies.
What I think if we had to say
it's all
what is
hilarious.
Unique about us is that we are very down to earth in a comedic way.
So it's very funny, isn't it? What we see is funny.
How we see life, and I think how we see life is maybe what's really needed to make you feel good.
To make you feel better.
And you don't have to be anything. You don't have to be a brown. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be yourself and smile. If you smile, even if you're feeling down and you smile, you're going to feel better.
I could not agree more, and I'm sure that every person, male, female, whatever age, who watches this interview will feel better now than they did 66 minutes ago. It's slightly over the hour, but they're roughly an hour. So I'm going to bring it to a close there. Thank you so much for... I know I'm going to say thanks for sharing that technique, but I can sum it up with one sentence here. Thank you for being you. That is what's been educational, and there's so much power and so much to be learned from that. And if for some reason you sat at home and you're thinking, I didn't ask many questions, didn't share many techniques, then you've missed the point entirely on this interview, and you need to watch it again, because there was more techniques took place in the past hour than there has been in some of the other interviews. Of that I can assure you. So go watch, observe and learn. Thank you so much. Could you please tell everyone where they can find out more about you, where they can find your books, if they particularly want a crystal chandelier or a luxury light, where they can find that?
Just come and see us
just
on
Google,
Instagram or Facebook, and come and say hello. And we'd also like to take the opportunity to say thank you to you too, Alex and Jonathan, because you are very special. And
very special person.
You've been in this field for so long, and you've had a lot of stick and everything, but you are a lovely, kind, genuine, real therapist and professional. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure. Guys and girls, they didn't even give you the website address, and you know what? They don't need to, because if you put the English Sisters in Google, they are so well instantly found that you will find their website that easily. But there again, it'll be right underneath this video as well to click on when it goes live. Thank you very much indeed. Join us next week for another edition of Hypnosis Week.